Hi everyone, welcome to our next episode of our LinkedIn Live series every Thursday with John Lees. We're up to episode 4 of an 11-episode series with John. Now, all guys, just remember, LinkedIn Live is still in the testing phase, so if there is any glitches technically, I will work on them very fast. So if there's a problem with the audio, please let me know. And guys, as always, if I'm looking this way, it's because I'm trying to engage you guys in comments as John is giving his presentation to you guys today. Now, great topic I'm going to start on today is two-dimensional selling. And I'm going to bring John into the broadcast very quickly, but I want to remind you guys also, if you can't see this on LinkedIn or you want to watch it on a different platform, you can also watch it over on YouTube or Facebook, because we do live stream a YouTube channel and the Facebook page. If you want to check on the YouTube channel, all you got to do is just jump up there into my profile, and I'll actually have a link already to this live episode on there. So much for joining us on LinkedIn and having our regular Thursday show with John. I'm going to bring John straight into the broadcast in a second, so just give me a couple of minutes while we do this as I add John in to our broadcast today. And we're going to cover the topic of two-dimensional selling. Okay, so this is very relevant for every business out there. Thanks for jumping in, John. Great to see you again today on your Wednesday evening, which is our Thursday morning here in Australia, live from California. How are you going today, John?
Fine, thank you. It's not only Wednesday over here, it's also 2006. So we're a little bit behind here, but I'm not worried about that. I quite accept it. So yeah, we're fine, thank you. It's very hot, the weather, but never as hot as I remember it being in Australia. So there you go. So thanks again.
Sorry, John, go.
You want me to go? Okay, I'll go. Oh, I see. I thought you meant get lost.
No, I haven't said that just yet. That's at the end of the show.
Okay. First of all, thanks again for making this happen. I hope the people watching it find it to be helpful in some way. So, yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right, really quickly, I'll just acknowledge a couple of the guys already here on LinkedIn. Theodore's joined us from Perth. As always, we've got Carol joining us from Lisbon. And I know it's like 2 a.m. over in Lisbon, and you are a night owl, Carol. I really appreciate you jumping on every week. So that's really awesome. Now, guys, just before we got started today, I was having a bit of a chat to John about a few things offline, and one of the things that's kind of tweaked for me, John, is with COVID-19, the way business transactions are changing. How should everyone approach the principles you're teaching with the online sale of products, or how to communicate with customers online? And we kind of spoke about this before, and just to give everyone a bit of context around it, it's all the same, because it is about having a great product. And, I just want to kind of touch on that for everyone just straight off the bat, John. Anyone thinking, I can't apply these principles right now because I'm not seeing my customers and everything's selling online, and I've got these challenges with having to compete online. But essentially, the things you're teaching are just still so applicable no matter what market that we're in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I several times when things looked really bad, in the marketplace, and what are we supposed to do? Shut the blinds, start praying, hoping that it will go away. I mean, as I've said before, there are two economies. There's one outside the business and one inside the business. And the one that we've got to focus on is inside the business that we have complete control over. And we should start to be more creative about things. What could we do that other people are not doing, or that other people should be doing? And tonight we'll go through that and talk about making a contribution beyond the obvious, valuable contribution too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ourselves, John, we've been on that journey a bit, and we've spoken a bit about it off air, but it is creating a good culture within the company, and it is empowering the people within your business, to make sure that they're serving your customers or suppliers at a higher level. There's no doubt about that. It's such an important principle. I'm just going to reach behind me. I shared a little bit of this earlier, but talking about values and principles, we actually in our own company we have a program called the Values Champion, and we share internal stories of where our staff and team members show these values. And And my brothers and the team have put it into a book now, where it's an internal book. It's not public, where we actually share all those stories about our team, showing each of the values that we have. So I totally agree with you, John, about the two economies that you have in a business. It's such a valid point.
Yeah, I mean, all the stories that I could tell you about. I mean, I can remember one case in New Zealand where I went from my hotel to attend a meeting that I was presenting at. And this was corporate cabs, very good service over there. The people wear nice clothes and cars clean and all that kind of thing. And out of ordinary, everyday common courtesy, I said to the driver, how's business? How's business going? And he said, very bad at the moment. Very, very bad indeed. I've never known it to be this bad, and I think it could get worse. I said, well, I'm sorry to hear that. What do you do when that kind of situation prevails? He said, well, I've thought about it, obviously. You've got to be positive. I said, yes. And he said, yeah, so what I do is I go home. You go home? Yes. What do you mean? He said, well, I've got things to do at home. I've got a path I'm building in the garden, and hopefully while I'm doing that, the situation will improve. I thought, well, what is he talking about? That's not how business works. He's an observer. He's a spectator. So anyway, we carried the conversation on. Very nice, very pleasant sort of guy, but we're talking about someone here who was absolutely, all his thoughts were dominated by the external situation. That night I get back to my hotel and there's a card on the floor of my room, and it's a corporate cab card, different driver. And I was glad that he'd left it there, however he got it there, because I had forgotten to organize a cab for the next day. So I rang the number. He came to pick me up in the morning. And I said to him, how did you know that I was a corporate cab customer? He said, I didn't. He said, I organized to have the cards put in every room in the hotel and in other hotels too, because you're the kind of person I want to do business with, and so forth. And I said, does this idea of yours work? He said, oh, yeah, very much so. Yes, absolutely. And I said, oh, okay. That's fantastic. So he was actually, going out of his way to make things happen. And the other guy was doing the opposite. Yep. And this is the two guys in the same business. One day, the next day, one is, crying poor, and the other is doing something about it, and so forth. And so I was amazed. And then the third day, the guy that I wanted, that I'd had on the second day, wasn't available. So I got someone else, again, a corporate cab driver. And we're going along, and I told him what had happened with the other two drivers. And he hesitated and said, yeah, okay, well, yeah, the second guy, yeah. How many hotels did he have to go to? I said, well, I have no idea. He said, yeah, well, that'd take a long time, that. I said, well, maybe it would, yeah. Yeah, he said, then you got to go to every room. How many rooms are in the hotel? How many floors are in the hotel? I said, oh, look, I honestly don't know. He said, yeah, well, that's the problem, you see. So here we've got 3 days, 3 guys, same industry, same town, same economy, all with completely different attitudes to exactly the same subject. So on the basis of what the third guy said, I rang the second guy and I said, just as a matter of interest, how long does it take you, to get all these cards put into hotels and what have you? Oh, he said, I don't do it. I ring up the general manager of the hotel and I promise him that any of his staff that want a trip will get it free from me at any time, providing they would be kind enough to put my cards under every door in the hotel. And he said they do, and that's the end of that. He said, and I'm not besieged by people wanting help. He said, but I'm more than happy to help. So, we've got to do some thinking up here. So there's a classic story from my point of view of facing the same situation in different ways.
Absolutely. So, John, I'm just going to change the screen here for everyone. I'm going to pop myself just to the side of John on a small screen, and I'm going to let John take over the presentation here. John's going to be presenting two-dimensional selling, how a company and its sales force both influence the market, and it's on this very topic. I'm just going to pop myself over to the side here. And guys, while I'm sitting on the side here, if you see me looking away, I'm not taking attention to what John says, because as you guys learn, I learn too. That's what I love about these sessions.
That's all I can say. You better have be. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to hand it over to you, John.
Sorry, Simon, I lost it. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, that's all right. It's fine. I understand.
Okay, sorry.
All right, it's over to you, John.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks again, Simon, for making this happen. It's really a remarkable situation that we find ourselves in with a gentleman such as Simon, who's organizing this sort of information. I hope you find it helpful. As I think I've said before, I'm not a teacher of anything in business. I am what I hope you are. I'm a student of business. I really enjoy business. We're all in business for the rest of our lives in one way or another. I don't mean we should be besotted by business, because we've got lots of other things to do, family and activities and so forth. But, you're going to be in business, then, find out the best way to do it. So, as Simon said, we're going to be talking about two-dimensional selling. Before I do that, I just want to make a couple of things. Number one, I found out this morning, that I am a very, very good singer. I knew I was a good singer, but I didn't know I was really good. And apparently I am. So there you go. What happened, the reason I know that I'm a really good singer is that I was singing at home today, and one of my neighbors threw a brick through the window so that he could hear me better. And I think, that's absolute proof that I am a really good singer. The second thing I want to mention is that one of the people that views these sessions sent me a message and said, when you first got started in business, how many staff did you have? And I said, I explained to that person that there was just my wife and I. She did all the books and what have you, and I worked with speaker agencies, and that made life a little easier. And then my daughter, who was about 20 at the time, got, what do they call it? The virus, not the corona type virus, but a problem with the I can't think of the damn name of it. I'm sorry, but she got this problem happening with her, and so I asked her to get involved in the business behind the scenes, helping me and so forth and so on, which she did, and she eventually got better, and so. But if you employ your daughter, you can expect maybe the odd problem here and there, because she knows I'm a nutcase. So then one day I was in New Zealand, and she sent me a fax. Now this was a long time ago, but she sent me a fax, and the guy that brought it up to my room knocked on the door. I opened the door, and he stood there like this. This is for you. And he gave it to me with no smile on his voice. This is for you. I said, oh, thank you. And then I closed the door, and that was it. It was from my daughter. And this is what it said. Personal, confidential, private. Dear John, a hotel called from Auckland and said you left without paying your hotel bill, and that you owe a substantial amount for your minibar. What should I do this time? So don't employ your daughter, whatever you do. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to look at two-dimensional selling. In a war situation, the soldiers do not go in first, obviously. They have aircraft, heavy artillery, and so forth, and then the soldiers follow in. That's the normal way of doing things. And it should be that way in business, that the company should be making a contribution in the business, in the market, for customers and for prospects that is unique and extremely helpful, beyond simply placing ads and things like that, because usually they hire someone else to do that. I'm talking about taking a responsibility to contribute to customers and their well-being. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. We covered the subject I'm going to talk about here before, but I'm going to look at it from a different way. We talked about code 213. So if you look at the market, here's a customer. They buy products. Hopefully they sell those products, and they then achieve success with those products and success generally in their business. And what I was saying is that most reps are allowed by their management, not on purpose, to use what I call code 1, 2, 3. In other words, they come here at the first level and try to influence the customer to buy. The customer's got suppliers up to here, products up to here, and the only product they care about is their own business anyway. And so they kick the rep out, hopefully in a nice way. And usually they'll say something like, oh, could you leave your brochure? Could you leave your brochure, company brochure, and your business card as well, please? Yes, of course. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. And that's it. And the rep then thinks, oh, well, at least I made some headway. You didn't make any headway at all. It's just somebody being polite. So code 213 is when we teach our reps how to begin at level 2 here. First of all, to start by acknowledging that I take it you've already got suppliers and they do a good job and so forth, and they've got good products. Nothing I have to say will interfere with what you do with your current suppliers and their products. I'm here to talk to you about a significant opportunity in the marketplace, which I think you may find to be very helpful. That's what I want to talk to you about. Naturally, therefore, the person you're talking to will feel relieved that you're not going to make an attack here. And then interested then in your story, and your story must be a very good one, etc. Okay, so then once they've sold their idea and the customer is interested, then they go back to level 1, which is to organize the buying of their products and so forth. And hopefully, therefore, at level 3, they will help the customer to be successful with the product. There couldn't be anything worse than selling a product to a customer and then finding out it didn't work. We've got to be there at all times to make sure it does work. Just like a doctor will tell us, come and see me in a month, take these medications, get this x-ray, and so forth and so on. But then we also have the company, you know, the fighter planes and what have you coming in, and they've got to aim what they do, not just marketing in the usual sense with ads and so forth, as I said. They also need to focus on the success of their customers. And that sort of backs up what the reps are doing and so forth. So what I did at Schwarzkopf when I was running the marketing and sales director job at Schwarzkopf is we began to do this because, as I mentioned to you before, I won't labor the point, we have meetings with customers, salon owners, very nice people, some running small businesses, some running medium businesses, some running quite large businesses. And we met with them primarily to get the usual kind of feedback. What do you think of our reps? What do you think of our service? Et cetera, our promotions and so forth. And they would give us feedback. And they enjoyed the meetings because they enjoyed being with each other apart from us. And then we would have more meetings, and then we would have more meetings, and then we formalized it. And we called it the Board of Customers. And gradually it became obvious to us that they needed help running their businesses. There were no business coaches around at that time, so they needed help running their businesses. So gradually, helpfully, we began to provide services for our customers that they placed a great value on. So I'm going to go through some of those now. I won't take too long. I'll be as quick as I possibly can. But what we did, no other supplier did at that time. And I have a book here, which you may want to get a copy of, called The Ultimate Marketing Challenge: How to Create and Sell, the Third Result. So the first result in business is to provide good products with good people and good service. That's the first result. Anything wrong with it? Nothing. The second result is the same as the first. You've got good products, good service, good people, but maybe you are a little cheaper, which is always attractive to the market, or you're more convenient for them, more convenient in terms of supply and what have you. And then the third result is that you're going to help them to be successful with your products and in other ways as well. What would be the point of supplying someone if they were deficient in their management of their own business? And that's a normal situation, by the way, in many cases, especially with small to medium businesses. I mean, the salon owners were delightful people. I really enjoyed working with them and so forth. But, you know, they were absolutely committed to helping their clients and so forth, getting the right kind of staff and so forth. But they didn't really know much about how to run a business, how to be successful and so forth. So we began doing that. So here are the things that I designed at that time. It started with articles. So I started writing an article every couple of weeks called PS, Positively Speaking. And the articles, these are out of fashion now. I know all that. But at the time, these were very welcome to salon owners. And at first, I can't imagine that it made a big deal. But gradually, we did more and more. Is your salon in the red or in the pink? The Salon Owners Lament, which is a very funny article and poem, all about salon owners and what they do wrong. The $64,000 question, what is the purpose of a salon business? Clients don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Who pulls the strings in your business? Blah, blah, blah. Lots and lots of ideas. Will your staff be notable or not able next year? Salon owners are getting exactly what they deserve. Again, humorous, and so forth and so on. So the article started going out every couple of weeks and so forth. And the reps enjoyed being able to go to a call and actually hand out the article before they got started and just say, I hope you find this to be enjoyable. Nobody else did that. Okay. And I know it's not a big deal, but it was the beginning. Then, slowly but surely, we began to get closer to them. So I created this idea, the concept of Schwarzkopf Progressive Hairdressing Club. We called it the PH Club, Progressive Hairdressing Club. And in this book, there were all sorts of ideas about how to run your business, our market in the future, our market, we're in this together. The need for more effective salon marketing. The need for more effective salon management, the need for self-development, all sorts of things. And we had people join. Didn't cost them anything, but they joined and they became PH Club members. And then we started having meetings with PH Club members. Again, it didn't cost them anything. It was in our interest for us to run the sessions. So I ran the sessions. I'd run one in Queensland, I'd run one in New South Wales, I'd run them in New Zealand, blah, 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 etc. So the PH Club, by the way, is still going in Australia and New Zealand, many, many years later. I was asked last year by Schwarzkopf to go to Los Angeles to attend a meeting that they were running there and speak at that meeting, which was a delight for me. So then we started introducing other ideas called the Dear Client card. And so this was just a regular card holder. The card would go in here, and when they had a new client, they would ask them, would you mind just taking a moment or two just to fill this out for us? And the client would write down some of her thoughts and views very, very briefly. It would take less than 30 seconds to a minute to fill out. But then they would keep a record of this card. They would file the card and so forth. What services did she have? What services did they recommend? What products is she buying? And so forth and so on. They loved that. They had to pay for this, by the way, but they paid no profit to us. Whatever they paid was what it cost us. And they loved it. Very, very cheap in terms of economics and so forth. They loved this idea. The method of color specialization, they loved that as well. Goal management. How to organize goals within the business, not just simply for figures and what have you, but for growth and development of staff and management and so forth. A checklist of salon promotions for salons. An item called the To Review, which you may remember I mentioned at the last meeting, which can be used by management to talk with staff every quarter about how they feel they're developing and what help they need, what help they've had, all very positive and so forth. So we gave these to the staff, and then we gave this to the owner, and they would meet with their staff every quarter. And just to give you an idea of the power of these things, I was in New Zealand running a seminar, and there was a lady attending the seminar, very fashion-conscious lady who ran quite a large salon business, and apparently she only did business with L'Oreal. Which is fair enough. She's a good decider of that sort of thing. But when I did a presentation of this and I explained it in detail, how this can help management and help the staff and help the clients, she came up to me at the end of the meeting in full, view of all our salespeople and managers in New Zealand and said, "Excuse me, Mr. Lees, may I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes, sure." She said, "What products do I have to buy from Schwarzkopf to get this idea?" And I said, "Well, you don't have to buy any products, but if you would buy them, it would be delightful. She said, no, I'm more than happy to come on board. If I can get access to this sort of idea, which I don't have access to at the moment. Remember, there were no business coaches around, and most business coaches anyway only talk about figures, plans, and all that kind of thing. But this was about everyday business. So she really enjoyed this. And it was a shock to our salespeople to realize that we can get into a salon, not simply with products, but with ideas like this. Ideas make money. Measuring growth potential. The client circle. The client circle, which meant that we were suggesting to them that they meet with clients on a regular basis. And inside here, we explain to them what sort of questions to ask of the clients, how the clients will help them to understand what works and what doesn't work, their best and worst experiences in salons and so forth. Future vision, a 3-month plan for the salon, but very simple plan. The Schwarzkopf window, which was coming up with a view of client satisfaction. As I've mentioned before, it's not only important to measure sales and profits, but also to what extent are we helping our customers and so forth. So they love that kind of idea. Successful presentations in your community. Great idea for salons. They didn't pay for this sort of thing. Project performances, which enable them to get involved with their staff in a whole host of ideas on things that they could work with their staff on. A salon stock control system. I think you get the picture here. You know, we were giving contribution after contribution over a period of time, and then it started getting heavier. So I then designed what we call Schwarzkopf PASS system, personal and salon standards. So you open this up, and here we have various cards, looks like playing cards, and every playing card deals with different subjects. So one is personal behavior, client service, consultation, personal responsibilities and results. Every card has a question on it and the suggested answer. The staff can use it with management, management can use it with staff. They absolutely love this. It gave them 2 or 3 years worth of simple meetings that they could have. And then also I provided them with the goal management PASS system, all the types of questions that were in here and so forth, and answers, and then a management edition which showed not only the questions but the answers as well, so they could run meetings with their own staff, or we could do it for them. So they absolutely loved that. They paid for it, again, because we couldn't afford to give those away, but no profit was made by Schwarzkopf. And then before I left Schwarzkopf, and I also created these ideas too. These were simple ideas for training within a salon. One was called questioning consultation. That's for the staff. This was questioning consultation for management, had all the answers, all the suggested answers in it. Consultation, not confrontation. That was for the staff.
And
training for the leaders. Sorry?
Just really quickly, for our viewers that are thinking, well, you know, how do you go and have that conversation with salon owners to say, hey, we want to help you, and you've seen what we've been able to do to help you for free, but we could actually do a lot more than that, but we need to charge you the cost of that. John, for people out there thinking, how do you go and have that conversation? I know it might seem like a dumb question, but just for everyone thinking, how do you go and have that type of conversation?
Well, we have meetings, as I told you, in all states and around New Zealand.
Yep.
I would do presentations and I would present these items. These items didn't cost anything because I designed them and so forth, and we just printed them. But when you come down to using this sort of thing here, then they had to pay the cost to us. So, and they were very cheap, relatively speaking. So they understood that. They understood we can't start having a separate area of our business where we sell this kind of thing and make a profit on it. So they understood that, and they bought it with great willingness, I assure you. And so then we had other ideas here. These didn't cost anything, as I said. Treatment talk for the staff, treatment talk for the leader, personal development for the staff, the questionnaire, personal development for the leader. Made it very easy for them to run meetings. questioning consultation for the staff, questioning consultation for the owner, etc., etc. And then finally, I created this idea, professional communication skills, where again there were cards involved, a brochure explaining all the things that was being offered, and then a game. There was a game involved where they could play it with their staff and have a bit of fun. So it was a little bit like that. Okay, and on this card, they would just play the game of learning about various things and so forth and so on. And they absolutely love these kind of things. Nobody else provided it for them. So that's what a company, that's the kind of thing that a company can do. If a company is interested in the development of its customers. I told you about the incident I had on a plane once where a guy sat next to me. He was with a competitive company. And the first thing he said to me after he found out I was with Schwarzkopf is, "What a bunch of idiots hairdressers are." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Oh, they're hopeless at marketing, hopeless at sales, hopeless at management." And these things here were our contribution to helping them to be better in those areas. Okay? We're not spectators. You know, we're not spectators. We're part of the game. We're part of the game. Very, very important. In fact, one of my books, which you can get a copy of, is called The Incredible Power of Center Field Marketing. So there's two kinds of marketing. You've got center field marketing, which means you get involved with your customers. And then the other kind of marketing is where you watch, spectator-wise. You watch the game being played, and then you criticize people and wish it was better, and you don't do anything about it. Okay, we very much admired our customers. Okay, we didn't think of them the way that guy talked to me on the plane about. We wanted to help them, not because we Mr. Wonderful, but because we wanted them to be successful so they'd grow and then they would need our company more. Pretty simple, really, when you think about it. So there's an example. Here's a second example. Sorry?
Absolutely, John. I mean, it's you know, some of these core principles, you know, I know that we do these kind of things ourselves with our suppliers. Exactly that. The better quality product that they can make, the more customers we can sell their product to, and so on and so forth, by educating them about what it is that we need to be able to achieve a premium quality and a premium price for them for their product in our trade business.
Yeah. And it's a pity, really, that doctors don't do this kind of thing. Because although doctors will help a patient with a problem, they don't have a futuristic program of helping them to develop their health. All they do is fix health problems. That's what they do. Hi, how can I help you today? Oh, I've got a pain here. Have you had it before? Yes. Oh, well, looks like you've got it again. That kind of thing. They will help you. Of course they will help you. They help me when I go to see them. And I actually mentioned it to my doctor at one point and said, "Why don't you have a future program?" And she said, "What do you mean?" And I explained it to her. She said, "Well, to be honest, I've never thought about it." So that would be a separate profit-making opportunity for her, but more importantly, it would be great for the customers to jump on board to become more health conscious and to become healthier people and so forth. Anyway, 5.5 years ago, my wife and I here came to America. I was doing very well. Everything was going well for me as a speaker, trainer, consultant in Australia, and writing books and all that kind of thing. And then an Australian company called Vionic, selling particular kind of shoes, orthotic shoes. They had already moved to America, and I knew the head of sales, who's a very good operator. And he contacted me in about 2013 and asked me would I like to come over and work with their sales force, their first sales force and their second sales force. First sales force, the reps, second sales force, the shoe retailers. Okay, very important to understand where they fit into the scheme of things. And I talked to my wife about it, and I thought, well, we've only got one life that we know of. Let's do it. So we did. So in 2014, in December, we left Sydney. I flew to Northern California because the company was based in California, and they actually offered me an office and all that. And I said, no, thank you. I don't want an office. I'll just work from home if you don't mind. And so I began attending calls with reps to learn how they were doing things. Saw many mistakes and many opportunities, which I suggested to sales management. And then I started offering Skype training to their customers, which they thoroughly enjoyed. Didn't cost them anything, all part of Bionic's service to them. Bionic loved it as well. Two-dimensional selling, again. The reps were doing their bit with my help and the sales management's help, and they were also using the company to employ me to offer services to the shoe stores. And then in 2019, I created this book, which, by the way, you can get a copy of if you like, because although it's dedicated to shoe stores, it helps any kind of business. And it's simply called a Guide to Unique Business Development Strategies, all about how to run meetings with your staff, how to hire staff, all manner of ideas for someone running a business, in this case, a shoe business, but any kind of business, okay? And they loved this. They absolutely loved it. This is, again, a case of two-dimensional selling. So not only did I help the reps, but then we were doing this kind of thing as well, which made it very helpful for them. So that's one side of the coin, where management gets involved in making its contribution, which hardly ever happens in most companies, by the way. Management is behind the scenes, as I indicated at the last meeting that we had, where I talked about the move from management to leadership. Management is very much involved in figures, paperwork, administration, and what have you. They're all nice people, as far as I know, but they do not get involved in providing a two-dimensional selling front. One from the salespeople and one from the company. So that's the company. Now let's look at the reps. When you look at your reps, if you have reps, you may have people who operate inside the company. But if you have reps, there are 8 negatives that you can associate with reps. Again, all of these are the fault of management. And if management caused these problems, then they can solve these problems. So let me go through them as briefly as I can. So I've used the word rep at the beginning of each of these words. So first of all, you have a reporter. And this one is like a newsreader. So they come with company literature and they begin telling the customer about it and reading it. It's boring. It's very boring. The customer could have got it from the company if they wanted. They could have posted it out. The replica rep, same as most other reps, almost identical in everything that they do, their behavior and so forth. The reproachful rep, someone who's negative, someone who talks about other companies in a negative way, someone who talks about their own company in a negative way. Repetitious, someone who every time they call comes up with the same sort of information. It's boring, very boring. The repertoire rep, someone who tries to be clever in using sales techniques, which they realize, they don't understand, it doesn't work. They can use 500 words to influence the customer, and the customer needs only 1 word to win the battle. No. The replete rep, someone who's tired and unwilling, and you can tell about their demeanor. They're bored by their own stuff. The repose rep, the one that likes to use the phone. They prefer not to call, just use the phone. Hi, how's it going? Everything okay? All right, okay. Do you need me to? No, okay, fine, no worries. And then the repulsive rep. And the repulsive rep is full of empty promises and so forth that drive people nuts. So there you have the negatives, and those came from discussions that I had with our board of customers in Australia, and I asked them to describe the kind of reps they had, and then all I did was turn the descriptions into these words here, just so that they'd be more memorable. And then we looked at the positives, and there were 2 kind of reps that were very good. One was the replenishing rep. Always talks about opportunity, always talks about success stories, always comes up with valuable ideas. And this is because their company, as we did at Schwarzkopf, and as Bionic did in America, we created a bank of ideas. Now, I mentioned this 2 or 3 sessions ago, very briefly, that the bank of ideas is a collection of success stories found by the reps in their territories, sent back to management, discussed and put into detail. 4 points. Number 1, what kind of excellent result are these customers getting with or without our help? We must know who's getting maximum results. Number 2, what was their motivation? Why did they decide to get involved in doing it the way they've done it? Number 3, what strategy did they use? What strategies, I should say, did they use to cause their success? And number 4, what lessons have they learned as they use their ideas and so forth. Now, it's when management creates an ideas bank and begins to have a range of ideas from all of the various geographic areas that the reps have, they can then begin feeding the reps with presentations that include the success stories with the support of the customers who created it. So we would never, ever go to someone and present an idea to them if we got the idea from someone down the street. We would never do anything like that, of course. So the replenishing rep is the rep who is provided with opportunities, success stories, and valuable ideas to take to market. I'll give you an idea of that. I was at a conference in New Zealand many years ago. I was talking to a lady who ran a pharmacy in New Zealand, quite a large pharmacy. And she was sat on a bar stool and I was sat on a bar stool, and we had all the reps and the managers sitting close by. And we asked them, you know, ask any questions you like of this lady, because she has a lot of experience, not only in running her pharmacy, but also in dealing with reps. And so one of the first questions was, what kind of rep do you place most value on? She said, the rep that I've got at the moment, the best rep by far, very quiet person. Every time she walks through the door, it's a breath of fresh air, because I know she's going to bring ideas and opportunities for my business, which other reps simply do not do. Not because they're at fault, because their management hasn't provided them with those ideas. Okay, so all of these problems can be traced back to management. You get the title of senior manager when it turns out they're apparently a junior leader. So, you know, they can change that anytime they like. And in fact, you know, when I was doing all of these things that I showed you, all of these ideas here, a massive array of ideas over, you know, several years, along with meetings, conferences, and everything else that we ran, I eventually resigned my role as marketing and sales director and became a consultant to the company. So I dedicated myself to doing these things here, to doing this second dimensional contribution, and got paid very well for it, very happy to do it. Eventually, Mr. Schwarzkopf, there was such a gentleman, very nice gentleman, just found out what we were doing, realized it wasn't being done anywhere else in the 38 countries they traded. So he then invited me to go to America, to Canada, to go to Great Britain, to go to South Africa, and so forth, to provide these ideas to people, not to push them on them, but just to introduce the ideas and so forth. And again, to give you an example, I went to Canada, and Mr. Schwarzkopf's brother, a guy called Geert Schwarzkopf, was running the Canadian operations for Schwarzkopf. And I did my presentation to him and his team, managers. And to be honest, I could tell that he wasn't overly interested in this particular idea. Maybe he was close to retirement or something, I don't know. But I could tell he wasn't overly interested. But I went ahead and explained it to them and told them what success that we had had and so forth. And then the meeting finished. And they said, well, thank you, John. Thank you for being here. And I said, my pleasure. I said, by the way, is it possible, could you tell me about any good salons here in Toronto that I should go and see? Because when I get back to Australia, there are going to be salons in Australia and New Zealand. They're going to say to me, what were the best salons like in Toronto, in Canada and America and Britain and so forth. And I was just wondering, could you tell me where I could go? Well, yeah, we can do better than that. We'll get one of our people to take you out to the top salon in Toronto. And the name of that salon, or the gentleman that ran it, was Michael Cluther's salon in Toronto. And I said, okay, thank you. So they had a guy drive me out to the salon, and he was wearing a wig. Oh, I couldn't believe it. He's working for a haircut company and wearing a wig. Anyway, we get out there, and it looked as though he just put it on that day, you know, and hadn't got it on right or something. So anyway, we go to the salon, and we asked to see the manager of the salon, a lady, and they had a beautiful staircase coming down, and she eventually came down, and she gave us both the look that she would give to an attacking rep, so to speak, an attacking company that's there to offer their goods and their services, because they were apparently totally and utterly with L'Oreal. And the guy that took me there said, John, they're only dealing with L'Oreal. They don't do any business with us at all. If there's anything you can do to get us in, it would be great. I said, well, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to find out about the salon. So I take some photographs and then take them home to the salons in Australia and New Zealand. Yeah, I know. But, tell you what, if you could, it'd be great. I said, oh, don't worry about it. So anyway, she came down. She gave us the look, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. And then she said to me, and what is your role, Mr. Lees? I said, I used to run the marketing and sales operations for Australia and New Zealand, for Schwarzkopf. But these days I design ideas for salons to help them to improve their staff development. Also ideas to help draw clients into the salon, to satisfy clients at higher levels and that kind of thing, Really? Oh, do you have any of those ideas with you? I said, I've got some of them, yes, but the rest are in the hotel. She said, do you mind if I have a look at them? No, I said, not at all. So we with the tour that I was going to go on around the salon, stopped for a moment. We went into a small room and I started then showing her all of these ideas and so forth, all of these utterly simple ideas, etc. And the guy that took me there, Mr. Wig, got back. And as he walked into the room that we were in, he said, I'm so sorry to be delayed. He said, it's so busy in the car park. And the lady said to him, Matthew, tell me, which products from Schwarzkopf do we have to buy to get these ideas? And he sort of looked at me like I was some sort of a genius or something, which was I am, But no, but seriously, he was shocked. And the same situation happened in New Zealand, as I explained before. So, this got us into salons that we didn't trade with previously because, the two-dimensional selling has its opportunities to get in there with prospects and so forth. So not only replenishing, but also reputable, people who you can trust, assist with the use of ideas. They're problem solvers and they are responsible, for what they do. Very helpful people. So I don't think we've got too much time left. So we now look at reps.
While you're flipping the page there, John, I'll just really quickly just jump in and acknowledge some of our viewers on LinkedIn. We've got Paulo all the way from Brazil. So thank you so much for tuning into John's episode. We've got Jeremy from Bespoke Law, a colleague of mine here in Melbourne. So thank you so much for jumping on as well, Jeremy. And then I've already mentioned Josh, Carol, and Theodore. So just thought I'd quickly acknowledge a couple other people who've jumped in and made a comment.
Okay. All right, well, let's just remind ourselves. I did go over this before at one of the first meetings, I think, but I'm going to come at it from a slightly different angle and give you some more examples of reps doing their job either very well or not doing their job very well. So here we have a line in business which is all about sales, market share, profit, etc. This is what the business hopes to get. Anything wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely vital for a company to have sales targets which are spread on a contribution basis to the salespeople and so forth. And it comes in 3 levels: high level sales and profits, average sales and profits, and low level sales and profits. Very important. But there's something even more important than this line, and that's this line here, which is connected to that line. And this is all about service times 2. So service times 2 is the second gap that I've talked about before, which is the area of opportunity, and the first gap, which is the area of want. So whenever you go to see someone, they'll either want your help or they won't want your help. And the people who don't usually want your help are the people who've already got suppliers. Thank you very much. They have 2 wants. One is for product and the other is for good service. And up in this area here, we have what they need. And what they need is success. And this will contribute be contributed by not only the reps with the help of management, but also by management through its marketing, special marketing activities. And there's two needs that every customer has. First need is, if you've got ideas that you think will help me, then please let me know what they are. And the second need I have is, would you help me make a decision to get involved with that? So here we attend to customers. Here we achieve for them. Okay, and by the way, you can't get into the second gap. You can't get into the area of achievement. The area of achievement, by the way, naturally relates to high-level sales. Okay, and this area here, we're attending to them. We're being nice. Hi, can I help you? No, we're okay at the moment, thank you. Oh, okay, well, thanks all the same. Or we've got customers and we go to see them and we tell them about our products and blah, blah, blah. And we either follow up and do the right thing or we don't. But if we do, and we do it very well, and we get to the highest level of first gap service, then we'll know what it's like to have average income. You say, well, what do you mean, average income? Well, because your customers are not meeting in a park today trying to figure out how to get better service from you. You either give it or you don't. And that's what this line is all about. It's all about what you have decided to give. Okay? Now, you may decide to go down this track and give, from a company point of view, ideas, which people love to have, or you may prefer not to do that. I can help you with those kind of things, by the way, quite easily. I'd be delighted to help. But this is what you give. This line is what you give. The more you give, I know this is basic, the more you give, the more you will get. These lines are inexorably linked, okay? So most companies, unfortunately, have average sales because they have an average involvement with the customer. The reps are not armed, so to speak, okay? They've got pea shooters. They cannot make a difference in the marketplace. So we have to teach them to do a good job here. And you may remember the brick wall that I mentioned, where when you go to see someone and they don't do business with you, acknowledge that what they want is being catered for, and then make your move into this area here. And once you get involved in this area of helping them with special needs and special ideas and opportunities, then you can start to attack this area here. So the idea is to keep raising the bar. That's the idea. The more you give, the more you will get. Don't blame me. I didn't make the rules. I'm just trying to follow them. So I'm going to give you a couple of ideas and then tell you about which books are available for you. And I'll let you get on with your day. So, first example. Many years ago, the first house that we moved into in Australia, only a small house, but nice garden in the front and the back. We had 3 kids, all girls except for 2. And we had a pool put in for our children. And they loved it. But they made a terrible mess of our garden. And it was a year before we could afford any landscaping. So I called in 3 guys to give me quotes. The first 2 guys came in individually, very nice guys. Yes, Mr. Lees, what do you want? So I told them what we wanted. Bush rock, paving stones and shrubs and so forth. How much do you want to spend? Like as if I had a budget. And I said, well, and I gave them a figure and they said, fine, okay. So then they quoted me, the 2 guys separately, they quoted me on exactly what I said I wanted, the bush rock, the paving, the shrubs, etc., at the price nominated. Anything wrong with that? No, no complaints, nothing. Then the 3rd guy came in, completely different behavior. Yes, Mr. Lees, thank you for calling me and asking me to get involved. Tell me, what did you have in mind? He did not say, what do you want? What did you have in mind? Which leaves a lot of space for him to put in his point of view rather than simply just to listen to mine, because I don't know anything about landscaping and neither do I want to. So he said, so what did you have in mind? I said, bush rock around the pool, paving and shrubs. I just told him exactly what I told the other 2 guys. He said, okay, that sounds very nice. Approximately, how much did you have in mind to spend? And I told him, same figure. And he said, okay. He said, do you mind if I take some measurements? I said, not at all, go ahead. He said, I was thinking of the garden. I said, oh, I'm sorry. So he then started asking me questions, and my wife questions about how did we entertain, how often did we entertain, and whatever else I can't remember. And then he went away. And then he came back. And when he came back, he gave me 2 quotes. And each quote was supported by a diagram of our garden, very simple picture of our garden. The first quote and sketch was for what I said I wanted. Okay, lesson, never ignore what a customer says they want. So this quote was the paving, the shrubs, and the and so forth, and at the price nominated. The second sketch was for what he could see we needed. After all, he's the expert on landscaping, not I. Okay, and here we had not only the paving and the shrubs, but it also had a river pebble garden all the way around the pool, and at the back of the pool, a bark garden in the center of which was the most beautiful barbecue made out of sandstone brick. Price, 50% more. I wonder if you can imagine which one we bought, especially as Mrs. Lees was present at the time. The notorious Mrs. Lees. 12 months ago, someone stole all her credit cards, and 2 months ago, they caught the guy, but we decided not to prosecute because he was spending less than she was. You have no idea what I'm going through. But anyway, there was one example. Excellent example. 3 ordinary, very nice guys, both of them lining up to get a share of the business. The third one acknowledging what we wanted and then offering ideas for what he could see in it. He's the expert on landscaping, not me. Where do you stand with regard to that issue? When it comes to your products, where do you stand? Are you selling success with your products or access? Okay, any other ideas? Yes. I was doing a conference for Qantas, and I heard the sad news today that they've fired 6,000 people, which is just dreadful. But hopefully they'll get back to normal pretty soon. But anyway, I was asked to do a seminar for Qantas and the agents that work with them, independent agents, and I did some homework beforehand, and I found about a story about an elderly couple. They were very close to their 80s. They loved going hiking. They belonged to a hiking club in Melbourne. And but then they had been told about one of the attractions at Disney World. And they were very much taken by that. They'd never been there before. So they were very interested in that. But anyway, they went to see 3 consultants, travel agents. The first 2 said, "Hi, how can I help you?" Very nice people, apparently. "Oh, well, we want to go to America." "Oh, okay. Where do you want to go?" To Florida or wherever the place was. "Yeah, okay, fine. So, all right. So let me give you a quote on that, please." Which they did, and that was it. And both of the agents, nice people, gave the 2 elderly people a quote for flying to and back from the place where Disneyland is. I know there's one in Los Angeles and one in Florida and so forth. Any complaints? Not at all. They asked for something, they got the help, and then they went to see this other young lady, Qantas, working for a travel agent, and they said the same thing. We were going to America, want to go to America, and we just like to get some quotes, please. She said, "Yeah, it's fine, okay." She said, "Have you been to America before?" "No." "Do you know anyone in America?" "Yes, we've got very good friends on the East Coast, and we get in touch with them, usually every Christmas, but apparently they really enjoy where they live." "Oh, okay, that's great, fine. So what sort of holidays do you normally have?" "Well, we belong to a hiking group, and we get involved in some really enjoyable hikes around the place and so forth." She said, "Oh, okay, fine." She said, "Anyway, look, allow me please to come up with some quotes, and I'm going to come up with a quote that you would be familiar with, which if you've been to anywhere else, they will give you the same quote, and also give you some additional ideas too." So they went back to her, and she not only quoted them on the flights to and from America, but she also pointed out that, by the way, there's a special kind of flight that you can get where if you pay only $100 each more, you can go to the East Coast. So the trip goes from Melbourne through to Florida or wherever it happens to be, and then onto the East Coast to visit your friends. "Oh, great. How much?" $100 more each. "Oh." And then on the way back, you can stop off at Yellowstone National Park, which I did some checking, and there's some hiking that goes on there, which is very interesting, apparently. And I can give you the details of that. And they, it just left the other people for dead. All they did was quote on what was asked. And what she went out of her way, she got help from her colleagues, by the way, to do this. But the point is that particular agent was more interested in helping people and not just customers. Okay, so don't forget, here you're dealing with a consumer, a customer. Here you're dealing with a person. Okay, so remember, always treat customers as people. Get to know more about them. Don't take all day, but aim what you have not only here, but also here as well. And she got the business. And I interviewed the two elderly people, and they were absolutely delighted. And by the way, she also recommended what hotel they stay at, which was close to the place that they wanted to go to in Florida. And so she organized the hotels for them as well. And she pointed the whole thing out, which is natural information that she would have, but they didn't have. So there you go. There were some examples. I do have more, but we've gone over our time. So I just want to finish, if I may, by showing you again this book, which again you can have in PDF form. All you have to do is contact me and let me know that you'd like to have a copy of this. This explains the entire story of how Schwarzkopf became market leader and all the things that we offered customers and why. It also explains the second gap in detail, etc. So I hope you find that to be helpful. I've also mentioned before this particular book, The Move from Order Taker to Sales Maker, which the chairman of IBM was kind enough to write the introduction for this. And this also has the code 213 idea in it and so forth, and lots of other ideas on selling. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also get a copy of this book if you like, which is laden with ideas and strategies for people, which are easily translated into anybody's business. The other books that are available, I won't take long to go through them. I mentioned that there is the book, The Incredible Power of Centerfield Marketing, okay, which is all about how to get involved with your customers beyond the obvious. Then there's another book called Small Business is Never Good or Bad. It's What You Make It, which is what we started off for on this session today when I was telling you about the drivers with the corporate cab service. Serious Sales Development with a Touch of Humor. So that was written when I came to America. Helping the Best Get Better, which is a good book for managers. One idea per page. And you can go to whatever section of the book is of most interest to you: marketing, sales, service, management, etc. Successful Sales Management, which is what we talked about last week. You can get a copy of that as well in PDF form. Sell Pleasure First, Price Last, which is one of the sessions that we ran. The Focus, Thoughts and Actions of High Achievers in Business, which is all about looking at the traditional way of doing things versus the more successful way of doing things. And there's lots of examples in the book. Creating the Spirit of Service and Success, which I hope you will find interesting. How to Drive a Franchise to Success. It applies to any business, by the way. It's not just franchises. And then How Sales Makers Win New Customers. How do they go to market? How do they manage to do it? And so forth and so on. So there you go. The books are available to you. You can have them anytime you like. If you've got any feedback about the sessions, let me know. And let Simon know, or let him know, and he'll tell me. But we're doing this to be of help to you. It's good practice for me to talk about these things. I enjoy the topics, and I hope you find the session to be helpful. Thanks, Simon.
And guys, what I've done is I've just very quickly, as John's speaking there, you guys have probably seen me over on the side here. That's some replying to comments on LinkedIn and Facebook. And just so you guys know, I've just dropped John's email address in one of the comments below. So go and check that out. You can email John very directly and ask for the books or any of the books. Now, I'm going to say this. I said it in the first episode. It's very generous of John to offer these books for free to our audience. So I'm very grateful of that, John. I know you used to sell these books, and very, very, it's an honor that you've been able to offer these books to our audience for free. Hope you guys have got some massive value out of it today. I've dropped John's email address below. It's info@johnlees.com.au. That's info@johnlees.com.au. Now, we love feedback on this show too, guys, like John up there on the whiteboard. We love feedback. So if you guys have got a question or you want to know something, you can either send a message to me on LinkedIn, you can send a message to John on LinkedIn, or you can email either of us with your question. And if it's to me, I'll make sure it goes to John, and John will do the same back the other way, guys. John, you've just put it up on your whiteboard again. Your contact details are?
Well, it's info@johnlees.com.au, and my phone number, 1 for America, 916-577-3865. You can get me on WhatsApp, or you can get me on FaceTime. No problem, won't cost anything. And we can have a chat, answer any questions you've got, whatever is the case.
Another episode, John. I got a lot of value out of that. Just a couple of quick comments just to finish off from our audience here. Paulo from Brazil's made the comment, so we need to get inside the customers. Exactly. We've got to know what our customers want. That's what John's saying is, you've got to understand what your customers want and then how you can serve them at a higher level, correct?
Yes, and the most important thing is to meet with customers, at least once a quarter. And and then, I used to run a seminar for them, which is how I started doing seminars. And they absolutely loved it. They loved being in each other's company, learning from each other. They gave us feedback, which was invaluable. Most companies don't go for feedback, or if they do, it's through some very complicated system, which takes weeks or months for it to get back. And, that's terrible. And we also provided them with ideas and began to realize where they really needed help. Their need factor was not simply for product. They could get product anywhere, anytime, at lower cost if they applied pressure. But to get what they need, which was progress for their business, nobody was offering it. And I think that's pretty much still the same, no matter where you go.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And it's so relevant right now, John, as business will grapple to get traction in the marketplace. So don't forget, guys, we're live every Thursday, John Lees, at 11 a.m. Sydney time, 6 p.m. Pacific time in the US, 2 a.m. UK time. So I'm going to apologize to all my friends in the UK and for my friends through Southeast Asia, 9 a.m. Hong Kong time. I'm just going to quickly acknowledge someone from our Hong Kong team, Jimmy, who's jumped on board, and he's actually watching over on Facebook, and I did jump to a couple of comments there. People from Perth, John, has said, thank you, John, most informative and appropriate. So thank you very much for tuning in there also, Theodore. And don't forget, you can send John an email at info@johnlees.com. Guys, we will see you again next Thursday. And don't forget, if you've got any questions, please send them through to John and I. We will do a Q&A session at some point in one of these, so please get them across. Love to have you on. John, is there anything you want to say to finish off before we close out today's show?
Don't forget the AU on the end of the email address. So it's info@johnlees.com.au. Okay.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you. Thanks, John. And guys, remember, all of these episodes are sitting on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, head up to my profile. The entire series is up there. So we're up to episode 4 now, but don't forget, we also had one of the very first episodes we did, which wasn't part of this series. So go and check them out. Go and rewatch them when you've got some time, because there are lessons in this for every business owner out there or anyone involved in business in any level. These have been so helpful. So they're on the YouTube channel. And if you're on Facebook, guys, again, you can jump across to the YouTube channel and watch any of the episodes again. And if you've got any questions on any of these episodes, shoot them over. And again, guys, thank you so much for watching live. Really appreciate it. Thank you again, John, for being part of this. And guys, as always, please tune in next time. We'll see you next Thursday live with John Lees. And I hope you got some value out of this episode like we have.